What's up, everybody? Good evening. Fancy seeing you here. This is, I guess, a special edition of Nightcap with Scone. A lot of you have been requesting this all day today, so I figured, yes, I understand it's in the evening. It's a Sunday evening, and many of you are spending time with your family, as I would want to do as well. But many of you have asked for this stream, so we can talk about it today, so here I am. Appreciate you for being here. Facebook, like the page, share the post. Please like the page, share the post. YouTube, subscribe to the Matt Moscona channel. Smash that like button. I appreciate it greatly. Thanks for being here. I'll let the audience build a little bit so as not to have to repeat myself a bajillion times. I'm going to have one pour. This is Sazerac Rye, by the way. Have one pour of Sazerac, and we'll talk maybe about 20, 30 minutes, and then we'll bounce and let everybody get onto their Sunday evening, but I'll fill you in on everything. You know what? Someone over there in a peanut gallery was like, hey, don't be long. We got to do stuff, and now all of a sudden we're live, and someone in the peanut gallery over there is trying to jump and fall in the stream. Our house looks like a bomb went off in Santa's workshop. But it looks so good. Looks so good.
Oh, thanks, man.
And here comes Drew. All right. Go to the new St. Lillian tomorrow. You will. Okay.
What?
So
Tomorrow.
tomorrow's Monday. Very good. And you have a dried booger hanging out of your nose. Dried booger hanging out of his nose. All right. Dax Jeter, Michael Spazale, Randy Dabdoob, Jake Lopez. Spike Sylvester, what's good? Jonathan Martin, Maurice Coleman, Jason Austin, good to see everybody. YouTube folks, appreciate y'all being here. Smash that like button. If you're new on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, please. I appreciate that greatly. Alec Campbell, Jay Bohr, Jackson Carney, talk me off the ledge. Darren Pellegrin, Scott got played bad. We'll see. Justin Frank, Trivia Carter, Jackson Carney, PTG Toasty, Darren Bone, Adam LeBlanc, Tutka, what's up, man? Hutchinson, got to be Kiffin now, right? Nope. Shelby Kelly, what's up, everybody? Okay, so let me give you a quick recap, sort of catch up, and then what's happened today. Because today, as Erica could probably confirm, I've had dozens of phone calls and probably hundreds of text messages today, as you might imagine. Been one of those days. So last night, Saturday night, Oklahoma loses Bedlam to Oklahoma State, and we're really excited because we think that opens the door for Lincoln Riley to come to LSU, as I knew they were pursuing Lincoln Riley. And then in his post-game press conference, Lincoln Riley makes it very clear, I'm not going to be the head coach at LSU. And my very short-sighted mistake was thinking that meant he was staying at Oklahoma, which clearly was not the case. About 6 weeks ago, maybe, you all heard me say that LSU was preparing to offer an 8-year, $100 million contract. They'd floated that, which they did. That averages out to 12 and a half, thereabouts. And Jimbo was always number one, and it was pretty clear that wasn't going to happen after Jimbo's adamant denial. And at that point, I think Lincoln Riley became the choice, became the top target. And LSU did pursue Lincoln Riley, and that pursuit and the interest, the mutual interest, was very real, clearly. It always kind of caught me off guard when I would talk to the Oklahoma folks, and they would just kind of laugh at the notion that Lincoln would leave, because the very real nature of those conversations and negotiations and what was being discussed suggested that this wasn't a denial. Like there was mutual interest. It was moving. I brought up the contract, the early contract, to tell you that about middle of this week, I was told that Scott Woodward was basically asking now for more money. And that was a pretty clear signal that he had to up the ante because there was a new variable. My belief at the time was that Oklahoma had countered. LSU had come in with an offer, and Oklahoma countered, and Scott wasn't just going to go away. So he upped the ante. That's what that was. My assumption was that he was bidding against Oklahoma. And after the game, and I told you this on Wednesday. I told you all this on Wednesday on AFR very adamantly. But I was also very clear to tell you this was an opinion. There was no ambiguity. I told you it was my opinion. I was not breaking news. I never said there was an offer. I never said there was anything of those lines. Those are my opinion. And my opinion was that Lincoln Riley was going to take that offer because who turns down $100 million and chance to be in the SEC and all that stuff. And we found out that he said after the game on Saturday night he was not going to be the LSU coach. And my understanding then was that Oklahoma countered. He leveraged LSU to get what he wanted out of Oklahoma, which was clearly wrong. LSU wasn't bidding against Oklahoma. LSU was bidding against USC. And that's what we didn't know. So USC, of course, fired Clay Helton before LSU fired Ed Ogeron. And SC made Lincoln their top target, and he took that job. Now, I will tell you this with respect to Lincoln Riley. There are a lot of people close to Oklahoma who were of the belief that Lincoln was never going to coach Oklahoma in the SEC. That he felt maybe the resources at OU weren't enough to compete week in and week out in the SEC. And I believe that. Their thought was that he would end up in the NFL, which many believed. So something we talked about on AFR on Wednesday, if you recall, if you didn't go back and watch that, but something we talked about on Wednesday was that only Lincoln could answer the question of if Oklahoma coming to the SEC was an advantage or a disadvantage. And being at LSU, a place where he could win with the resources he needed in the SEC, was an advantage. But clearly he made up his mind. He didn't want to coach in the SEC. So remember, Southern Cal is a private school, so they do not have to disclose contract terms or anything along those lines. So I don't know what Southern Cal gave him ultimately, what that contract's going to be. But, I mean, LSU was offering a shit pile of money, and he walked away from it. So I'd imagine Southern Cal gave him a really lucrative offer. And it also allowed him to avoid the SEC and to go out to LA, which is appealing for a lot of people, to be in Los Angeles and Hollywood and all that sort of stuff. Okay. High profile, whatever. Okay. So since that happened earlier today, where we learned Lincoln was going to SC, that's formal. A lot of people have obviously turned their attention. Okay, it's not Lincoln. Who is it? I want to be very clear about something. Billy Napier was never interviewed for the LSU job. Okay, I know Ross Dellinger tweeted that earlier today, and he's right. Billy Napier lobbied very hard for the LSU job. I've told you this. Billy Napier came on my show, whenever that was, 2-3 weeks ago, not because I was aching to have the coach from ULL on, but because mutual friends reached out to me to say, would you please put him on the show? He wants to get in the mix for the LSU job. I was like, well, I'm going to ask him about the LSU job. And they're like, he wants you to. Okay, so whatever. Napier stumped very hard for it. He never got an interview. I will tell you that with 100% certainty. Billy Napier was never interviewed. Not never offered. He was never interviewed. Dave Aranda, to this day, has not been interviewed for the LSU job. I don't know how many times I could say this. Fans ask me about Aranda all the time. You've seen some reports that he was a finalist. I'm telling you with 100% certainty that as of today, as of Sunday the 28th at 8:09 Central Time, Dave Aranda has not been interviewed for the LSU job. Okay. A lot of you are going to ask about Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin would crawl to Baton Rouge. That has been made abundantly clear to me for weeks.
Get him here.
Erica wants Lane Kiffin. She wants to ride the Lane train.
Not rude. Sounds gross.
Okay. So, Lane Kiffin, as I understand it, is a no from Scott Woodward. For a lot of reasons. Actually, not a lot. I think he's a brilliant play caller, but I think because of some of Lane's rumored past, I don't know that that's a path LSU wants to walk. I'll tell you also that Lane was not considered for the Florida job. And he is kind of pissed about it. The fact that he's had the season he just had at Ole Miss, and he's not being considered for these jobs. I'll get some of your comments. I'm kind of riffing right now, but I'll get some of your comments. So I'm trying to think of who else. So anyway, as best I can tell today, and I don't know if this has been reported anywhere. If it hasn't, then whatever. I'll put this out there. Up until this point, this has been Scott Woodward's show, and Scott has kept a very tight circle. I do not know definitively. I cannot tell you with absolute certainty who is in that circle. I'm quite convinced that Scott, Stephanie Remp, and possibly two other people, maybe one, possibly two other people, are in that mix. But they have kept largely board members and boosters and administrators and everyone else in the dark on this. It's been Scott's show. So, they've had to go to a lot of really wealthy people, as I've expressed before. They've had to go to a lot of wealthy people to ask for $26 million to buy out Ed Ogeron and his staff. And then $100 million to hire a new coach. And then this week went back and asked for more. And up until this point, it's kind of been a blind faith thing. And the Lincoln conversation obviously leaked out. And many people were convinced he was the guy. And he was the target. When Jimbo was no longer realistic, Lincoln became the target. And many people thought that was going to get done. Why wouldn't you? I mean, LSU was offering a shit pile of money. You're in the SEC. Last three coaches have won titles. You get it. All the things, right? Why would someone turn that down? Well, he had another offer. Anyway. But what you've seen now as a result is Napier was never interviewed. He took the Florida job. Aranda was never interviewed. He's extended at Baylor. Mel Tucker got his extension at West Virginia, at Michigan State. James Franklin got his extension at Penn State. Like, the candidates, right? The list of candidates is dwindling. So you start to look at who else is out there and who's realistic. And I've told you that I know Scott Woodward has an affinity for Mark Stoops. And I believe that, I told you, I believe LSU's floor was Mark Stoops. Like, if they got to the point where their top candidates said no, they're not getting below this point because that guy is taking the job, right? That's the floor. The question that I'm telling you flatly, I don't know, is between Lincoln Riley and Mark Stoops, are there candidates between those two? And who are they? I could take guesses, and you could guess. But again, this is where I'm telling you I'm guessing. Like, I'm giving you educated guesses. I'm not breaking. This is the thing that I think many people get confused on when I tell. Like, I'm not breaking news. I don't know. I'm telling you flatly, I don't know. But what I'm very comfortable saying is that after Jimbo, Lincoln was the top target, and the floor is Mark Stoops. They're not getting below that. What's in between? Is it Brian Kelly? I've heard Brian Kelly wasn't interested in the pressure cooker of the SEC. Could you go back to him? Sure. I've heard Matt Rule. The Panthers lost today. They're on a bye this week. Could it be a good time? Maybe. Would Matt Rule leave mid-season? Probably not. Are you willing to wait till January? Would that make sense? Bob Stoops. Bob Stoops is out of coaching. Certainly tried to scratch the itch back in 2020 with the XFL. He's won a national championship. Could this be the right time to jump back in? Maybe, right? I mean, any of those would make sense and would be splash hires, right? All that would make sense. Throughout the course of the day today, I will tell you there are two things that I am pretty confident in saying. There are two different factions, and I'm not talking about fans. I'm talking about people that I would deem reputable, normally, that are talking today. And I've heard from, and I've told you at the beginning here, that Erica, how many phone calls have I had today?
17 million.
17 million phone calls. How many text messages?
47 million.
47 million text messages. That's an official count, by the way. It is pretty much a 50-50 divide right now, where I have been told by people that in the past I have not steered me wrong. I've been told by people, Scott's got his guy. We're good. Announcement's coming. Like, no sweat. No sweat. I've been told by other people it was Riley, and now they're scrambling. It's a shit show. So I am telling you candidly, I don't know which it is. I don't know which it is. My guess is, again, I want to be very clear. Like, I'm giving you an opinion. Just an opinion. My guess is Scott Woodward would have a hedge. I don't think Scott Woodward, I tweeted this a bit ago. I don't think Scott Woodward would put all of his eggs in one basket, get left at the altar, and then not have a backup plan. So we saw something similar in baseball. They were all in on Kevin O'Sullivan, and then he kind of checked off a few boxes there, right? It was Pat Casey, it was Mike Bianco, it was Cliff Godwin. He landed on Jay Johnson, and everybody's really happy with that. I think it's similar here. I just don't know who is the guy that he targets in the middle. I do believe he will call Jimbo Fisher one more time. I do believe it. I absolutely believe, and I've said this for months. He's going to make Jimbo tell him no one more time. I do believe that. And I think Jimbo's going to say no. Again, an opinion. But is it any of those other ones? I would venture a guess that Scott has his hedge. Let's see. Some people are saying go look at Lane Kiffin's big game hunting or with the plane. No. So he's recruiting. Good. Good recruiting. Good for him. Anyway, the other part that I was going to get to is this. I was sort of leading there, and then I kind of went astray. Over 1,000 watching. That's awesome. Please, only 200 likes. Please smash the like button if you haven't done it yet. And if you need a roof, call Hudco Roofing. HudcoRoofing.com. And then Facebook's over 1,000 as well. We're over 2,000 concurrent viewers right now. That's awesome. Thank y'all so much. So what I will say, and I'm very confident in saying, and again, I don't know if this has been reported or anything tonight, but some members of the board, not a formal LSU board meeting or anything like that, but some board members did gather tonight, and I believe the reason that this was happening is you had a lot of people kind of have a blind faith approach in this search, and many people believe that this was going to end with Lincoln Riley as LSU's coach. That clearly hasn't happened now, won't happen now. And They want to know what's up. Like, okay, what's the plan? And if it's Mark Stoops, you need to convince us why Mark Stoops is the guy. I don't know. I don't know that it'll be Mark Stoops. But I do believe Mark Stoops is the floor. And I think the real big question right now is who are the other candidates there in the middle? After Lincoln, before you get to Stoops, who are those ones in the middle? And is there a splash hire to be made? I think that's the big question. So, all right, let me see if I can get to as many of your questions, comments. I'm not going to do too long here. I did pin HUDCO in both the YouTube and the Facebook. So if you need a roof, I mean, look, Sunday night, 8 o'clock, there's more than 2,000 y'all hanging out. I love it. It's awesome. What you can do as a reciprocal favor, call HUDCO. You, friend, family member, neighbor, you need a roof, you had damage due to Ida, give us a shout at HUDCO. HUDCOroofing.com. The website's pinned there in the comments. I don't believe in paywalls. I'll never charge my audience for anything. The only thing that what you can help is help our support our sponsors. And of course, HUDCO is a company that I'm a partner in, so would appreciate it. And Facebook, I got GameCoin tagged in there as well. You'll know I'm a GameCoin board member. Check it out. Sports themed cryptocurrency with a charity purpose, and then mycleanliving.net as well. Mycleanliving.net. NASA technology, air purifiers, proven to eliminate dozens of viruses, including the virus that causes COVID-19. So y'all check it out, mycleanliving.net. Okay, I'll get some of y'all's questions and comments as best we can here. Kevin White, Mark Stoops is a bust. I guess to each their own. I think Mark Stoops could do really well here. Like, I think a lot of coaches could do really well in Baton Rouge. But I understand why that's not the name that's going to get people excited. Storm warning, LSU will regret this one day when Napier became Florida coach. It'll haunt them for a long time. I believe that, but I also understand that there were politicians, board members, etc., that were hell-bent on LSU not hiring the coach from Lafayette. And I think that was a non-starter. And I agree with you. I think he'll do fantastic at Florida. Yeah, she wants to ride the lane train.
No, I don't.
Jeremy Brinkmeyer, so over this stuff. Joseph Armato, Andre Green, Purple Barney, Stoops is a good coach. I agree, but I also understand why this is the problem with Stoops. And by the way, again, I think he would do very well here, my opinion. But I also understand that when you bring in Scott Woodward and he has the reputation he does, and you go and you fire Ed Ogeron and you pay the staff $26 million to go away, and you're floating this giant contract, the expectation is you're going to land a big fish. You're going to land Lincoln. You're going to land Jimbo. You're going to land Dabo. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to land one of those. And if you get down to Mark Stoops, that's not going to be received well. And I understand why. He could do really well here, but the initial reaction will not be good, if that's it. Jeremy Averill, Matt, whoever the coach may be, needs to circle the 2024 LSU USC game in Vegas. How much more fun will that be now? Great point.
How old is Stoops, Matt?
Mark Stoops is 56 years old. Could it be Brian Kelly? And we just want to drop the bomb tomorrow to have all the shine. Casey, listen, that's, again, going to the point I made a bit ago, two different factions. One that say, Scott's got his guy, it's fine, we're going to have our day. The other is, it's a shit show. So, if you believe in the people who are saying Scott's got his guy, Brian Kelly would make a lot of sense. Notre Dame's not playing this week. You could certainly hire him tomorrow. I will tell you that early contact was made with Brian Kelly, and he did vet the position. He called people around LSU and around Baton Rouge, and kind of decided that it wasn't really something he wanted to pursue. Could that change? Maybe. Linest Parfait. Is it safe to say Lincoln wanted nothing to do with the SEC? Yes. For those just joining, I did mention that early on in the process. I got to be friends with some Oklahoma media members during the lead up to the 2019 Peach Bowl when LSU played them. And so this summer, when the news broke that Oklahoma and Texas were coming into the SEC, there were many people who cover that program who suggested in no uncertain terms that Lincoln Riley would never coach Oklahoma in the SEC, that he would be gone before that transition happened. And most thought it would be into the NFL, but clearly he was willing to take another college job. Let's see. KJ, my thoughts would be Kiffin or Fickle. Kind of explain Kiffin, that seems to be a non-starter. Fickle, it's hard to imagine pulling Luke Fickle while he's in the middle of a possible playoff run. He's preparing this week for a conference championship game, and if they win it, they're very likely in the playoff. I don't know how you pull that. That's also a guy who has been pretty adamant that he doesn't want to leave the Midwest. So I think he was one of the early targets also for Southern Cal, and they moved on. Stephen Jacobs, y'all keep doubting Woodward. Man has made better hires than any other AD by far the past 8 years. Stephen, that's what I kind of lean into, is that I think he's a guy that has a really good eye for what he's looking for, knows what he's looking for in coaching talent, to find that guy. But I think in this respect, it's more than just, hiring the next great coach. I think there has to be some cachet along with it for people to be happy. By the way, 1,300 watching. It's incredible on YouTube. Thank you so much. Please, if you haven't yet, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Smash the like button. We're only at 394 on the likes. And also, please subscribe to the channel. This is where I go live every day for Morning Scone. This is where we do Nightcap with Scone on Wednesdays. Special live, things like this. We do companion shows. So make sure you hit the subscribe button to the channel as well. Drew Boogie, Woodward arrogance or bias against Lafayette might come back to bite him. Maybe, but I want to be clear. It's not just Scott. I mean, he feels a lot of that pressure as well from people that he works for. Cortland, never thought Riley wanted to come to LSU. Never imagined he'd leave OU for USC. But Cortland, that's the point. Like, that's exactly the point. So anyone who says, oh, Riley was never leaving Oklahoma, yes, he was. Just like all the people who years ago said, oh, Jimbo's never leaving Florida State. Yes, he was. Like, when those conversations keep popping up, they keep popping up for a reason. There's a reason you don't hear Dabo Swinney every coaching carousel. There's a reason you don't hear Kirby Smart every year in the coaching carousel, because they're entrenched where they are and they're not leaving. And if there's someone who's seeking something, greener pastures, an opportunity to leverage interest for whatever, that word gets out via agents or however you want to play that game. When you keep hearing Lincoln Riley's name, that's how the game is played. That's why his name keeps coming up. I mean, we went through this with Nick Saban years ago. Every year, Nick's name came up for NFL jobs. Why? Because Nick wanted to be an NFL coach. And every year, the NFL came calling until finally he jumped. Same thing here with Lincoln. LSU put its best foot forward, offered him a shit pile of money. They offered him staff control, not just his coaching staff, but support staff, all of it. And he picked another job. Cliff Nelson, what's up? Champ Eon, what's up? Trying to scroll through some of these. Sorry, y'all. Jump over here to Facebook. Devin Steve, what's up? Lance Fultz asked about Vance Joseph. No, I don't think that's a possibility. If you're looking NFL, again, I mean, he's a DC for, one of the best teams in the NFC right now. If you're looking NFL, again, Matt Rule is a name that I've heard. Again, I don't know how feasible that is. The Panthers did lose today, and they're heading into their bye week. So theoretically, you could have those conversations, but would he really leave midseason? And another sort of I mean, if you're just looking to throw a name out there, I mean, Eric Bieniemy, which doesn't make a lot of sense because I don't believe Scott Woodward would hire a coach that has not been a head coach before. But you know, really good offensive mind, been in the NFL, has won a Super Bowl, all that sort of very highly respected, all that sort of stuff.
We're good.
Hi, Drew.
I'm so bad. I'm so bad.
Okay. No idea. Paul Neville stoops $5.25 million through 2025 plus incentives. They could look. Make no mistake. Make no mistake. They could get Mark Stoops in a heartbeat, and they wouldn't have to pay $12 million a year to get him. But I don't know. I don't know if that's I don't know if that's the direction that they're going to go. I'm very confident in telling you, like this much I'm very confident in saying. Lincoln Riley was the target after Jimbo. Mark Stoops is the floor. What I don't know is the pecking order between those two and how many are still in play. Alan said, where did you get that hoodie? Erica, where did I get this hoodie? Probably Target.
That hoodie?
Probably Target. No, I don't want to cover up the Hudco logo.
You didn't ask me.
Miles Garrett's a freak. Yes, he is. Spoke to a guy in Baton Rouge who sold Saban's wife a Christmas tree, just saying. That's so good. Let's see. Someone's asking about Brent Venables. No, again, not going to hire a first-time head coach. That's just not the route Scott's going to go. Cliff Kingsbury's not going to leave the NFL to come back to college. Billy Brown, Taylor Slay. Who the heck is left to hire to be realistic? I mean, if you want me to put a list together of who I think is realistic, I mean, I kind of gave you the list. I think unless if there's a completely off the radar name that nobody's considering, I would tell you the names that you would consider would be, I told you Mark Stoops would be your floor. And then you'd have to consider Brian Kelly, Bob Stoops, Dabo. I do believe with absolute certainty they are going to call it, that Scott Woodward will call Jimbo Fisher again. He will make him say no again. But Brian Kelly, Bob Stoops, Dabo, Jimbo, I'm okay saying throw Matt Rule in that mix as well. I mean, among that group, you may have your answer, and I don't know what the pecking order is and what way it'll go. Is Mike Gundy an option? No, I'm telling y'all, Mike Gundy, LSU did actually court Mike Gundy, at least reach out back in 2016, and he wasn't interested in leaving. It's his alma mater. He's been there forever. He's well compensated. It's his program. Again, Darren Spicer asked about Aranda. I'll say it again. Dave Aranda has never been interviewed for this job. I mean, I don't know. I don't know in what other way I can say that more plainly. That two people that fans have asked the most about are Billy Napier and Dave Aranda, and I'm telling you, and you've seen it now. Like when there were reports about Napier and Aranda being finalists, I told you then, and I'm telling you now, those two men were never interviewed for this job. Billy Napier never got an interview. He was never considered for this job. I know it's hard for a lot of fans to stomach, but I'm telling you, now you see it. And Dellinger reported. So if you don't believe me, believe Dellinger. I've been telling you for weeks. And Dellinger's reporting now. Believe Ross. And I'm telling you the same is true with Dave Aranda. He's never interviewed for this job. So there's got to be. Scott's got to want him.
Okay, push.
Again, Mario Cristobal is one that y'all are mentioning. Another name I've never heard. In the same way that I've told you for weeks, no one has ever mentioned to me Dave Aranda's name. No one has mentioned Cristobal's name. And I'll tell you one thing that Scott Woodward covets is someone who is an expert on one side of the ball. You have to have your expertise on one side of the ball. And Cristobal really is kind of like Ed Ogeron in the respect that he's a recruiting guy, he's a line coach, never been a coordinator. And I think that's a problem. And you've seen that structure exposed at LSU right now. I don't think LSU's going to walk that path. I should say Matt Campbell. Forgive me. That's one I should mention. So that's a name that I've heard throughout this process, but I don't think is super appealing because, as I understand, Matt Campbell's a guy who's made it known he's not super high on recruiting 5-stars. Now, he wants out of Ames, Iowa now, but he doesn't want to get into these bare-knuckle fights for 5-star recruits. So if that's the case, you're going to come up short. Terry White asking about Urban Meyer. Yeah, I mean, the same thing with Hugh Freeze. When you're in the midst of a Title IX situation, that's so hard to imagine. And then also, Urban Meyer's coaching the Jacksonville Jaguars right now. I mean, is it really plausible that you're going to pull a sitting NFL head coach? I don't think so, man. A lot of y'all are asking about Doug Peterson, and Doug Peterson is from, coached high school football in Louisiana, obviously has roots here, won a Super Bowl. He won a Super Bowl with the Eagles. And, is he out of coaching right now? I mean, I think he might be out of coaching right now. Yeah. So I don't know what he's doing. So he would be someone who's available, Super Bowl winning coach. Maybe that's a possibility, but again, not a name that I've heard mentioned. So PJ Fleck, Tony asked about PJ Fleck. PJ Fleck is a guy that I know PJ Fleck is going to be like Dan Mullen was last year and previous, and like you were. PJ Fleck is a guy you're going to hear his name coming up a lot because Fleck wants out of Minnesota. And so you're going to start hearing his name mentioned, and it's going to be interesting to sort of like decipher the difference between what's agent fodder, just putting his candidate's name out there, and what's legitimate. But y'all, I'm going to tell you this. I'll tell you the other thing too, as far as the timeline. I still believe there is a very real possibility, and I will put this out there. I believe there's a very real possibility that we will know LSU's coach within 48 hours, if not tomorrow, Tuesday. And for a lot of reasons. Recruiting is a big part of it. Every day that passes, your candidate pool shrinks, as we saw today. And the other part, too, is the current players on the roster need to know. This season was terrible. It finished with I said this season was terrible. It finished on a high note, but the thing that is very important to keep in mind is, like, this is brutal. You had injuries, you had opt-outs, you had ugly losses, you had a disconnected, dysfunctional offense throughout you have a lot of players right now, key players, and now the coach that recruited them is out, there's ambiguity about who's going to be next. There's a lot of players who are considering transferring. One of them's your starting quarterback, by the way. So you got to get somebody in there quickly. You got to be decisive to stabilize this whole thing. And let the current players know who their coach is going to be, so that coach can start re-recruiting the roster, and that you can start telling recruits this is who it's going to be. Tony asked about Jamie Chadwell from Coastal. I've not heard anybody at LSU associated with this search at all mention Jamie Chadwell. So, for whatever that's worth. Bud Kilmer. Riley used LSU as a smokescreen to hide the USC deal. Yeah, I believe so. Brilliant by USC to not let that get out. Really. Very well done. I mean, it's obvious he was now even more so obvious that he was willing to leave Oklahoma, which I believed all along. I mean, the level of conversations that he was having made it very clear that he wanted out of OU. And that's something that, in the industry people have known for a while, is that, he wasn't high on staying at OU to come into the SEC. And I didn't see USC. Good for them. All right, 804 watching there still on Facebook. Thank you so much. Please like the page, share the post. YouTube, 1,600 watching on. That's not right. I told Erica tonight, I was like, I got to do a live stream. There's so many people who have been asking all day. So that's by far a record. 1,600 watching, only 556 likes. Can we please get the likes up? I would appreciate that greatly. Smash the like button if you're new. Please subscribe to the channel also. Just appreciate it greatly. So whenever we do live feeds, this is where we go. All right, let me see if I can get a few more in here. Well, I got Big Drew at 9. So let me do like 10 more minutes. Okay, we'll do 10 more minutes. And Drew's got to go back to school tomorrow. So, let's see, Jason Hammond. Why would Mark Stoops be considered a disappointment? Seems legit to me. So, good question, Jason. Very level-headed question, actually. Because whenever you're talking about coaches that have won national championships or perennial playoff teams, etc., like if you end up landing on a coach that's right around 500 in his career, that's going to be viewed as a disappointment on its face. But it's one of those things where I think you have to dig a little deeper. So Stoops in his career at Kentucky is 58 and 53. He's got a losing record in the SEC at 29 and 45. So I understand why anybody would look at that and go, well, Dave Aranda's 2 games over 500 in his career, in his 2 years at Baylor. But context matters when you look at what he's been able to do. And the same with Mark Stoops. Like, his first year at Kentucky, they were 0 and 8 in the SEC. The next 2 years, they were 2 and 6. So, I mean, he started 4 and 20. He started 4 and 20 in his first 3 years in the SEC. And since then, 4 and 4, 4 and 4, 5 and 3, 3 and 5, 4 and 6, 5 and 3. Well, 4 and 6 was the COVID year, so you'd scrap COVID year. But then this year, 9 and 3 overall, 5 and 3 in the conference. I mean, he had a 10-win season in 2018. They'll go to a bowl game this year, 9 and 3, with a chance for a second 10-win season. I mean, it's kind of remarkable that he's won the manner in which he has at a place where nobody's won in that manner since Bear Bryant. But I also understand there's LSU fans that are just going to want something higher. You're going to want someone who's won at a higher level at a bigger program. So I get it. Some of y'all are asking about Joe Brady. My understanding all along with Joe Brady, even from his time here, hated recruiting, didn't like that aspect of the college game, wants to be in the NFL. Tony Romano said Dabo's not leaving Clemson unless it's for Bama. Tony, I actually believe that's factually inaccurate, man. I understand why people say that because he played there, but everyone close to Dabo said he's made it. He has been explicit that what he does not want to follow Nick. He does not want to follow Nick. My child's a crazy lunatic. He's running around. Just y'all should see the house right now. It's a total mess. I mean, it looks like a bomb went off in Santa's workshop. It's crazy. There's just Christmas shit everywhere. Just everywhere. Trell Hatch, seems no elite coach wants to move to Baton Rouge. Maybe it's not just about football or winning. Trell, I'll put it to you this way. One thing that I think can't be ignored is that LSU did fire its last 2 coaches that won national championships. And the most recent was fired within 2 years of winning the national championship. That's a hell of a lot of expectation, man. It is. Now, you get paid well to do the job. But that's a lot of expectation too, man. And there might be people like I'll tell you. I think that was a turnoff for Brian Kelly, quite honestly. Robert Graves, at some point, do we start to wonder if LSU is the pristine job we think it is? We had issues finding a coach in 15-16. Now we don't appear to be the destination we believe we are. I mean, Robert, there's some legitimacy to that. But I think it's not so much about LSU. I think it's a lot of the ancillary things. What I just alluded to, the pressure of, the fan base, the the political nature of higher ed in Louisiana. I mean, the fact that you have a lot of hangers-on, a lot of people that want their say in this job. That's not exclusive to LSU, but it carries a lot of weight in decisions. So, Brad Ruiz's Dabo made open comments about positions. He was asked about the LSU job weeks ago, and the only thing he said was, the only Death Valley I'm concerned about is the one over there, and he pointed to the Clemson Death Valley. That's it. Please mention Deion Sanders. Yeah, I don't think LSU is going to hire Coach Prime. I don't think that's going to happen. Chad Arnold, I'd rather give O another year than have Mark Stoops. Love how you give Stoops a pass on his COVID year. Let me rephrase, not that it's a pass on the COVID year, but I was going through the conference record, and you played all conference games. It was a 10-game conference schedule. That's why. It's not necessarily just brushing aside the COVID year. It was just that it was a 10-game conference schedule, whereas in a given year, you're going to play 8 conference games. So I think the way we look at a record in the COVID year per se, even like LSU a year ago when they finished 5-5, we played 10 conference games. If you swap 2 of those for layups, maybe you're 7-5 instead. Still probably not good enough, but not 500. You know what I mean? That's what I meant by that. Let's see. Louis Solomon, why is LSU not attracting great coaches? Went through that a little bit. Newt Douglas said, is Bill O'Brien an option? I should throw that one on there as well, because that's one that I have mentioned quite a bit, is Bill O'Brien. But the other thing I'll tell you confidently is Bill O'Brien, Lane Kiffin, these guys are Jimmy Sexton clients, and Scott Woodward and Jimmy Sexton have a close relationship. And people on Sexton's team have kind of said, man, we don't know what Scott's doing. Napier. The Napier is a Sexton client. These are guys that didn't get an interview. So, see if I can maybe get a few more. We're going to wrap this thing up. Over 1,700 watch, crazy. 1,700 watching on YouTube. Bonkers. Appreciate y'all for watching very much. Facebook, there's 780 watching on Facebook. Facebook, please like the page, share the post. YouTube, again, just take a quick second and smash the like button. If you're watching on your phone, just X out of the live chat, hit the thumbs up, and then just hit live chat again. It'll come right back. So we appreciate that very much. That helps with the algorithm and all that sort of stuff. So we appreciate it. And then if you haven't yet, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'll take another quick second to remind you about Hudco Roofing. I've got Hudco pinned in both streams. So if you need a roof, you family member, friend, still got that blue tarp post Ida, give us a shout. We got materials, we got crews, we're ready to roll. HudcoRoofing.com. Got Gamecoin tagged in there as well in the Facebook post. TheGamecoin.net, first cryptocurrency, sports crypto with a purpose. TheGamecoin.net, TheGamecoin.net, and MyCleanLiving.net as well. NASA technology in these air purifiers, cleaning air and surface, dozens of pathogens in the air and on surfaces. got him in our home. Drew's been sick for a week, and Eric and I have gotten sick at all. So, especially this time of year, mycleanliving.net, mycleanliving.net. All right, William Brown, Taylor Poirier, mentioned Coach Webby, Ray Hefner, Bill Parcells. All right, we've jumped the shark here on the we've jumped the shark on the YouTube channel. Any more on Facebook? YouTube has jumped the shark, so we'll wrap up. Let me see if there's any legitimate questions or comments on Facebook. Jackie Lack, he's got to make a big splash, or this will be a total failure. Jackie, I'd put it to you this way: if it comes down to it, if there isn't a splash to be made, then hire the person you think could have the greatest success. And short term, the response won't be great, but if that person wins, that becomes your legacy, right? When Nick Saban was hired, he was far from the first choice. Matter of fact, they were moving on to coordinators. I mean, Mark Richt was the guy that they were going to hire. He was the OC at Florida State. And late in the process, Sean Toohey, who was friends with Jimmy Sexton, and Joe Dean from their Converse days, said, told Joe Dean, are you interested in talking to Nick Saban? I mean, that's how that happened. He was far from the first choice. So, all right. Trey Mitchell, Matt, what's your heart telling you? I really don't do the gut feel thing, Trey. I don't. I try, especially when something like this, because people hear what they want to hear. And look, that's already happened, right? People are like, oh, you were so dead wrong. Like, yes, I thought that Lincoln Riley, when offered $100 million to coach at LSU, would take the job. And he took USC instead. Okay, I was wrong. But I never reported he was taking the job. I never reported there was an offer. I mean, there were reports yesterday, y'all, that Lincoln Riley had verbally accepted the LSU offer, which clearly was wrong. I mean, it's a great lesson. And, dude, it's one of the really hard, honestly, it's one of the really hard parts about doing this job is that the line has blurred between reporter and fanalist and entertainer and all that sort of stuff. It's blurred. So I don't know how it could have been any clearer in saying, I am not breaking news. I am not breaking news. I'm not reporting anything. I was giving you an opinion. And my opinion was that that LSU was going to make the offer, which I believe they were going to, and that Lincoln was going to accept it. He didn't. So he took the USC job instead. Okay. I also said LSU was going to lose yesterday at A&M. They didn't. All right. Strikes and gutters, man. It would have been much different if I had reported that Lincoln had an offer and had accepted. Like, that would have been much different. So, what's my gut telling me right now? I kind of look at Scott Woodward's track record, his history, and I kind of believe that he would have a backup. The fact that you don't interview Billy Napier or Dave Aranda tells me you're really confident in what you got up your sleeve. They made their play at Jimbo and at Riley. So who's next? I mean, you have to have your hedge. So who is it? I think we'll find out tomorrow. I do. I think tomorrow, Monday or Tuesday, I think this will be over. I think LSU's going to name a coach in the next, by Tuesday. So, who is it? I don't know. I really don't. If I had a good feeling, I would tell you, and I don't. I think if the fan base were more excited on Mark Stoops, I think he'd already be the guy. I think there's just a lot of people, if it ends up being Stoops, that they're going to have to convince why that's good. Someone asked, that's a good question. Jay Dixon said, who do you want? At this point, I want Lane Kiffin. I mean, from the very beginning. So Lane Kiffin's an elite play caller, one of the best in the country. He can recruit, knows the SEC. I mean, just won 10 games at Ole Miss. I want Lane Kiffin. I love his personality. That's what I want. I just don't think he's gonna I don't think he's gonna get hired. I mean, everything I've been told is that's a no from Scott Woodward. Lane Kiffin is a no from Scott Woodward. So if that's the case, I mean, that would be a splash. That's something that would get a lot of people excited. I think that's one of the things you got to weigh on. John Voorhees is Dabo playing the conference championship. He is not. Clemson is out of the conference championship. The ACC championship is Wake Forest against Pitt. Okay, y'all. I said I was gonna have one pour and then bounce. I got to go get Drew ready for bed and then get him to bed so he can get to school in the morning. Appreciate y'all so much watching, man. I hate to leave with 1,600 people still watching on YouTube and 681 watching on Facebook, but sincerely grateful, man. I mean, it's incredible. So thank you to everybody who jumped aboard. I know a lot of people had asked for this all day. And again, if you're on YouTube, man, we'll be here back in the morning for Morning Scone around 7:30 a.m. Central Time. Facebook and YouTube. If you're new, if you're just finding this platform tonight, if you're on Facebook, like the page, share the post. YouTube, subscribe, smash the like button. Dude, we're at 900 likes on you. We can get to 1,000. We can get to 1,000. I don't think we've ever had a video get to 1,000 likes on the YouTube channel. We're almost there. We're at 900 with 1539 still watching. I know we can do it. Let's please get to 1,000 likes. It would be so cool if we did that. So thank you all so much for watching. We'll be back for Morning Scone tomorrow. A Scone and Tea podcast tomorrow. Locked on LSU is back tomorrow. AFR at 3. We'll have our full day, back on target. So oh man, we're almost there. We're at 9:56. Come on. Are there 44 more people who can smash a like button? 44 more who can smash a like button. We're almost there. 967. 974. We're almost there. Go on. Go on, do it. 991. Go on, 10. Yeah, that's 1,000 likes. I love it. Y'all are awesome. Thank you so much. It's the little things. Thank you so much. That's awesome. That is so cool. All right. Hopefully we have an answer tomorrow, y'all. I guess one more tidbit for those who are remaining. One more parting tidbit. I was told on Friday that LSU was planning an event at Tiger Stadium on Monday. Catered, cleaning company, all that stuff was photos, all that sort of stuff. I think they were planning to announce a coach on Sunday. I think they were planning to announce Lincoln Riley on Sunday and welcome him on Monday. And that obviously didn't happen. So next, find out. I think it'll be tomorrow or Tuesday we find out. So anyway, we'll be here for it. Thank y'all so much. Y'all have a great night. HUDCO Roofing, HUDCORoofing.com.